All right. Good morning to all of you. It is Gary Mauris from DLC Head Office Group of Companies. It is February 20th, 2020. My oh my, how the year is starting. I wanted to welcome all of you this morning. I know a lot of you have tuned back in. There's more than 600 of you. I think almost close to 700 again registered for this call. I decided that I'm trying to do these sort of a little more frequently, maybe every 30 days, in a perfect world. So rather than having you commit to 60 minutes, we asked some of the feedback. So today is our first call that we're going to do, hopefully around 30 minutes. It's called the 30-minute hit series. And I'm going to pick up a multiple of topics over the next 12 months and have some guests and really try to deliver on some of the topics that so many of you have asked me about. So first off, welcome to those of you in the West. Good morning, and to those of you in the afternoon, or sorry, in the East, good afternoon. It's funny because a lot of you over my last Level Up series have heard us talk about just habits, and consistent daily habits, big or small. They're all important as long as they're consistent. And I've been really talking about obviously our database reminder, right? The biggest opportunity is in the relationships we already have and in our existing database. And thank you. A lot of you have seen the postings. Those who have sent out the letter to my database and have used the call script to just make the check-in calls and some of the other pieces of material I sent out, the responses have just been incredible. It's been the fastest start in our sort of 15-year history. We're looking forward to seeing our final numbers after Q1. And so much of that has come from so many of you. Just the comments I'm getting, like, oh my goodness, it's, my customers are happy to hear from me. And, the way it's phrased and scripted and the base foundation is really helpful for having those communications. And I'm feeling more connected than ever before. And I'm excited and getting responses back from the letters. So I wanted to just, provide some clarity. Obviously working with your past customers and valuing your critical relationships for those who make introductions for you, referral sources is really important. But I obviously wanted to have a well-balanced, well-rounded business. And there's many of you who want to work with realtors. There's many of you on this call who are working with realtors. It's funny. I have spoken to so many people over the years, and if you speak to very established, very successful, mortgage professionals, a lot of them in the early days worked with realtors, and then over the years, as the database got stronger, they started to work with less and less. Some people have just said, I don't work with realtors, period. And usually when I hear that sort of comment, it's typically because, realtors in many situations can be quite demanding. They can be impatient. I guess you can consider them a high maintenance, in some cases. There's been complaints that, sometimes they're unloyal. That's no different really in any industry. I mean, they're in a very stressful job, right? They're working with clients as well. Their time is very valuable to them. They have a high level of compensation tied to that deal. You also get a lot of realtors who are sort of new realtors or mid-pack realtors. And, they feel they need to be incredibly responsive. So, when they have a transaction or a deal, in their mind, it becomes, critical, type sort of house on fire type, situation. So we understand some of the challenges with working with realtors, but whether it's realtors or whether it's financial planners or whether it's wealth management, a lot of these things we're going to go over today in the next, 30 minutes are going to refer, to all of them, right? All these skills are transferable. So I thought I'd sort of, jump in. I mean, it's my perspective that, when I look at our top 10 or our top 25 or even our top 200 agents in all of our brands, the one consistent thing that I see over and over is most of the top performers still work with realtors. And it's funny, working with realtors, is often misunderstood. People think I have to work with, 15 or 20 or 25. And, if you have a good relationship and you guys become friends and you're communicating and really leveraging each other's strengths, if you just have 3 or 4 good realtors to sort of, balance out the rest of your business while you're working with your database, it can be very, very powerful. they can be very helpful to your business and vice versa. So I often see people that want to go into a real estate office and they want to work with 200 realtors that work in that office. And that is just absolutely, the wrong way to go about it. I mean, people are going to find their tribe and their vibe and the people they connect with. And if you happen to be inside of a real estate office, if you're working with 6 or 8 or 9 realtors and you're doing a really good job, you're going to have more business than you've ever had before. Often people say to me, well, I can't go after this real estate agent because he's in this Remax or the page or, whatever brand it is. And they already have CIBC or TD or somebody in house. And, please understand, for all of you that want to work with realtors, is that many realtors, their mindset is they already pay the Remax or the page office, a desk fee and a deal fee or a commission split to be there. And they have full autonomy to go out and pick the relationship. So the fact that there's somebody sitting in-house in a real estate office, they don't feel obliged to use them. Now, they would use that person if the person was good and responsive and, responded in a timely manner and was educational. But a lot of those in-house brokers, whether it's another mortgage broker, whether it's a bank rep, are only dealing with, as I said, 8 or 10 realtors inside of that office. So that means there's another, 180 or 190 that are either, not currently working with a mortgage professional, don't even want to engage the conversation with the customer other than, hey, are you pre-approved? And I'm going to speak about that a little bit today. So there's lots of opportunities. You don't have to be inside of a real estate office to work with a realtor. The number one way to work with realtors is find a way to make that connection and obviously become friends. When you get to that relationship, provided that you deliver on baseline expectations, you're going to be very, very successful, and it's going to be a very fruitful and rewarding relationship. I made sort of a list of just a few things that I think, a lot of you need to know. And what I'm hoping today is that a lot of you just take some notes. I mean, some of this is going to resonate with you. These calls, the purpose of them is really just to stimulate ideas, just for you to hear something and go, wow, that's interesting. Okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to, follow up, and I'm going to, use that in the course of my business. Some things that we talk about on training calls, for many of you, you're going to go, oh my God, that's fantastic. The light bulb goes on. For some of you, you're going to say, I've seen that, before, I'm using that and it's very effective, or it's not. There is no one way. There is, no one's got the best idea. They're all just ideas. And it's our job to take the ones that we think are transferable to our business and use them. So when I look at working with realtors, financial planners, anyone who can make introductions to us, there's a few things that we need to understand from our position so that we have the mindset so that we can be the most helpful to them. So first off, most, realtors today, and there's, some exceptions, but most don't understand the mortgage process very well at all. They're actually intimidated by the conversation. If the customer starts asking them, well, what do these guideline changes mean? Or what is the changes to the, qualifying rate mean? Or what is the difference between, conventional or high ratio? They most can't answer it very confidently. Some know more than others. So we can be an incredible resource to actually make the realtor look brighter and more valuable than ever before if we have the realtor on page and they understand that, we're not trying to sort of, get in on their customer. We're trying to make the entire process, much more positive so they look better and they are more educated. So, it's really important because, when they start to get asked about qualifying rates and the difference between products, that's when most of them just go and say, see your bank, or they typically ask their customer, are you pre-qualified? And the customer says, oh yeah, I've been at my bank forever. And, unfortunately, in many situations, the realtor finds out, especially a newer realtor finds out later after they've, looked at multiple properties that they weren't pre-qualified, or they didn't have the buying capacity that, maybe they were hoping for, and they've spent all this time. So it's really, really important for us to remember they know very little about that. So any opportunity we have to educate them, and I'm talking on the simplest terms, on the basics, the basic understanding of mortgage lending and how it works, is incredibly impactful when working with realtors. So, typically they try to avoid the conversation at all. And that's why most realtors aren't working with anyone. You know, there's a lot of them that are just saying, hey, you're at the bank. Great. No problem. Is your financing in place? Yes, it is. Great. Thanks very much. We want to get them to the point where they go, listen, I know you've been at that bank for a long time. I know been there since you were, late teens or even younger, and you think you have a great relationship. But, I work with a mortgage professional at Dominion Lending Centers, Canada's, mortgage company, or Mortgage Center Canada, or MA. These guys are the best in the business. They have this huge social endorsement. They fund more mortgages than anybody else. And, much like, a lot of my customers think that because they've been in the bank for a long time, they have the very best, rate and the very best product, and they understand what the bank is offering them. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to call my mortgage broker, Jeff, who I've worked with for years, and just have him give you a second opinion. You might be surprised. So really important that we start to teach our realtors, sort of at all costs, get the customer to call you at all costs, call you. So, I think when you do that, you'll find that when you get them into the habit of that, you'll become much more valuable. You'll convert way more of those customers. I mean, if you were introduced to that customer properly, you will be a very, very valuable asset. So, what do realtors want? And this is no particular order when working with realtors. This is, number one, they want their mortgages approved, right? They want pre-approvals. They don't want to, work with customers and find out last minute that there's a problem with the financing. And you have to really take the time to educate the realtors that, often when they're working with, a bank, we see a much higher level of stalled deals, right? Or roadblocks at the 11th hour, and you have to explain to them, obviously, that the banks only have, the products that they represent. So there's no question. The first thing they want is approvals, right? They want pre-approvals. It's important. They have a $10,000 or $12,000 commission lying on that one. So, that certainly would be of top priority. Also what they want is they want availability. They want you available on their schedule. So that means weekends and evenings. And, a lot of us have gotten to or some of us anyway, have gotten to the, mindset, well, the banks close at 5:00 and I can't really help you. And, when working with realtors, what I can tell you is that the most important thing ever is communication. Over communicate, because in their mind, that deal is as I said, a huge priority for them. And if you don't communicate with them, and if they have to wonder at all, they just pick up the phone and go somewhere else. So if you're going to work with realtors and you want to be the best, it's about being available. And I know that, cramps our style a little bit on a Sunday afternoon or, a Saturday evening, 5 or 6 after open houses have closed. But, you have to assure the realtors that you're available on their schedule. And of course, right along with that availability, and I can't tell you how important this is, and a lot of us know this, so this is just a reminder, is speed of response. You've heard me say on my other level up calls that speed of response is in my opinion, the number one and the easiest thing you can do to convert more leads. You can get more loyalty via speed of response than anything else. So when a realtor does call you and it's a panic and, they're looking for you to calculate some more payments or call their customer or take a pre-approval or, ask you about, something in the finance process, the faster you respond, the better, absolutely no question. So, it's for some of us, it's, different than maybe how we have reacted, but it's something that is incredibly useful, very meaningful to the realtors. So, number one, pre-approval. The second thing we talked about was availability on their schedule. That means evenings and weekends, speed of response. I mean, they're a different animal and they require different things. But I will tell you, I don't know of a better lead gen anywhere in the Canadian mortgage space than realtors. I mean, we can, month in, month out, they have new customers coming into the fold. So when you get that very dynamic relationship with them, it is a steady source of consistent lead generation. So we have to really value those relationships and we have to make them feel special and unique. And if we're not responding quickly and we're not available on their schedule, obviously they don't. Education, it just ties right into what I was talking about, how they're intimidated by having a mortgage conversation. I mean, realtors desperately want to understand more about mortgages. We all know that when we go and hear a speaker or see something and we learn something, we go, wow, that was so great, right? Because it's evidence of progress, right? You learned something or you got something done that maybe you didn't know and a light bulb went on and you just felt, much more worldly because of it. A realtor is never going to admit to you or never going to tell you that they don't really understand mortgages. They're going to say, oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, I understand it. But they really, really don't. I mean, they won't admit it to you, but they really want to learn how to talk the lingo. They want to understand at least the very basics, right? The baseline expectations. So, we have to make sure every time we're talking to a realtor that although we think that they might, already understand the field that we're in or some of the terms or the differences, of product, they absolutely don't. So what you have to do is you have to make certain that at any given time, you educate them. And a lot of times you can educate them in very, very simple terms on their social media feeds. So if they have Instagram or Facebook, post something that, spells out the difference in terms or products in layman's terms. And they're going to find it very valuable because their customers are reading it, you're educating them. But, also they're reading it and they're educating. When you're sitting down or you're having lunch or you're having coffee, with them, always remember that they hardly understand their business. So the simplest terms, we have to sometimes, it's oversimplifying it. We think they get it. And some of them do. Don't misunderstand me. There's some brilliant realtors out there. But, the vast majority don't. So that education is incredibly important. Always find opportunities to educate them so that they feel more confident. The more value you bring to them, obviously, the more committed they are going to be to you. What they also want is they want social validation. So they're out there talking to customers and their job is no different than our job. Our job when talking to our clients is to convince our clients that, we are the right choice, that we are the experts. We give them certainty that they aren't making a mistake. And, the best way to do that often is social validation, right? Third party validation. So anytime you have an opportunity to validate the customer's decision when working with that realtor, just goes miles with that realtor. So that realtor makes an introduction or says, hey, call my customer. Her name is Tina. And you call and you say, hey, Tina, it's Gary at Dominion Lending Centers. Michelle referred me to you. I've worked with Michelle for a lot of years. Man, she's an incredible realtor. I like, what I like best about her is her speed of response, how she communicates. She understands the market so well. I work with a lot of realtors and she's an absolute pleasure. When you do that, that gets back to the realtor and the realtor becomes very, very loyal. The best way to do that is when you're getting an introduction to ask that realtor to make an introduction via email with you. And then as you respond, you go, hey, Michelle, super happy to make the introduction. Thank you for the introduction to the realtor. And you say all that social endorsements that I just went over. I worked with Michelle for, years. She's an excellent realtor. She's one of the best in the business. You've made a really good choice. Her and I make a powerful 1-2, punch. We're going to make sure that now that you found your dream property that, we get you the very, very best cost-effective, mortgage product so you pay off your mortgage sooner. So anytime you get a chance to kind of weave in that social acceptance is going to be incredibly important. And sometimes that's via email, sometimes that's via phone call, sometimes that is face-to-face, sometimes that's in a social setting. But certainly anytime you get a chance to build the raving fan between the two other parties, please do. One of the things that's very valuable to a realtor is obviously a quick no. If you get them into the habit of just referring all of their customers to you, right? Whether they say that the funding is in place or not, or they have bank financing, and you do it in such a way that they know that you unequivocally have their back and you're going to steer them in the right direction. You get a chance to provide that social endorsement. You also get first look and you get to ask the right questions so that if that customer says they have financing in place, you might be able to identify that they don't. And then you can share those bogeys with the realtor. Obviously a realtor is looking for a quick no. If a deal can't get done and we've done our homework, the faster the no, the better we are when working with that realtor. They want to obviously move on as well, respectfully and quickly. One of the concerns that realtors often have working with mortgage professionals, and whether this is perceived or not, is reputation damage. They're worried about if they bring you in and you're speaking to their customer, that, you know, maybe you're going to, you know, shine a light on them or their selection of, you know, of partners. So they're looking for you to be, as I said, the same thing we spoke about when working with them. They're looking for you to be expedient in response. They're looking to you to be educational, polite, diligent. They're looking for you to dress the part. You know, it's really important for them. I mean, and you have to assure them when working with realtors for the first time that it's incredibly important that, you know, you elevate the entire experience and you're going to help that and you're very professional. You know, it's funny because you get some brokers that just get into, you know, some of those habits that we spoke about on some of the other level up calls where, you know, they don't call back right away, or when they do call back, their dog is barking in the background, or their kids are screaming, or they call the customer back and say, I'm sorry, I'm just having dinner. Can I call you later? All those little cues that might seem innocuous that quite frankly are reverberating with the actual client, and that client is making a decision that this person might not be the person for me that I want to work with, and therefore damaging to the realtor. So it is a real concern that you have to you know, keep top of mind. Realtors want useful information, right? So, you know, things like Purview. Purview is a program that we negotiated for every single one of you. Realtors love Purview reports. They love when you know, on all of their customers or all of their houses or all of their listings or anyone they send you, when you send them the Purview report and it's got a picture of the property and the property information and it says prepared for that realtor by, you know, your name at Mortgage Center Canada or DLC. It's got all obviously the sales histories in their neighborhood. It tells them that the property is, you know, the property range is up or down. It tells you the most historical sales, comparable sales. Realtors love it. They will decide whether or not they share that with the client depending on the actual property. But the fact that you've taken this to the realtor, showed them during a meeting, provided it to their customers, separates you from, you know, anybody else they're dealing with, especially a banker or a mobile mortgage sales force. They love the history on all of the sales, you know, going back, you know, 6 years. They love the most recent comparables in the area. So you want to make sure that you're giving them useful information that, you know, they can use to make themselves look more positive in the customer's mind. The other thing is My Mortgage Toolbox, the mortgage apps with the pre-qual, obviously, and with the you know, closing costs, and, you know, and with all of the rates. If you give this to the realtor and you sit down and just say, be patient, this will take 5 minutes, let me explain to you how to use this, and it's your app, you're going to be in their pocket. But if you teach them how to use it properly, it saves them so much time. They can send that to their customer. So, you know, we're always looking for opportunity to share any of our tools that we can, to share any of that stuff on social media. We always want to, anything that we think is valuable, you know, to tag them on their social media posts where their circle of influence is actual reading. You know, the last thing that I want to point out that's really important to realtors is they want to be constantly informed on deal status. You guys have heard this, you know, many times from me talking about working with brokers, or sorry, working with your clients. And once you have an approval, you know, whether this mortgage is going to close in 14 days or not, and, you know, not communicating with that customer in the next 14 days. I mean, over communicate, you know, every single day before you go home, or at least 3 or 4 times a week. Hey, just wanted to check in, let you know that everything's great. Nothing's changed. We're proceeding as planned. You know, the closing date is still set for this. There's nothing alarming that, you know, I need to notify you on. We're in good shape right now. They want to know every time you're talking to their client, hey, I just spoke to them. It's good. I asked them for this information. They provided that. The more communication, the better. I mean, they're very finicky. And that's why earlier on, I said, one of the things we have to deal with is, you know, them being unloyal sometimes. It's because they're finicky. So when you're working with a realtor, obviously you want to be a breath of fresh air, optimistic. Hey, the market's great. All right. The qualifying rate, you know, just came down. We just got some good news. You know, the market's turning around. We're getting, you know, really good feedback, and the vibe in Alberta is better than it has been in the last, you know, 24 months. You really want to sell your company because people are looking for, again, that sort of social endorsement. They want to know that they're not going to make a mistake. So when you're talking to working when you're talking with a realtor about working with them, just say to them, listen, the reason why you choose us over somebody else is that, we fund $40 billion a year in mortgage transactions. We do 125,000 new mortgages per year. We have millions of customers in our queue. We work with more realtors than anybody else in the Canadian, mortgage space. Sell the company. I mean, a lot of people think, well, you need to sell yourself, and you absolutely do. But, when you explain that many people, before them have used the services of the company, and you get to promote that number one market position, it's incredibly valuable, because people are looking for that social endorsement, right? When working with realtors, you have to explain clearly the difference between, the mobile mortgage sales forces from the banks, the collateral mortgage products, and one of my favorite conversations with realtors when I'm talking about, working together, or when I have in the past, or when you have, right? Because I've spoken to thousands of you over the years, many conversations, is explaining to them, hey, listen, and resonating with them on some of their struggles. Hey, listen, you work with a lot of customers, you spend a lot of your time. I understand being a realtor, to be a good one, it's a very, very difficult job. You guys have tremendous value and give tremendous value for the customer. Doesn't it drive you nuts when the customer, looks at 10 houses and grinds you for the very, very, very best price, and it's a very difficult negotiation, and then they just go take an inferior rate or inferior product from the bank? And you might not, recognize that as a problem, but I assure you, when you can speak, to the customer, and when I can work with you as your partner, we're going to save them thousands of dollars over that term of that mortgage. They grind you for every single dollar. They sometimes want to negotiate your commission, and then they go to the bank and take a product that has, horrendous terms to it, right? Are is a little costlier than maybe what we would offer. So I love explaining that with realtors. So when working with realtors, ask for an introduction, not a referral. You've heard me say that before, right? Like, if you say to somebody, hey, would you mind making an introduction? Nobody minds making an introduction to their customers usually. When you say, would you mind sending me referrals? A referral intimates a commitment. So, I always ask for introductions rather than referrals. So quickly, how do I find new realtor partners? So, number one, the easiest way to find new realtor partners is to ask your current customers to make an introduction to the realtor, right? They're asking you for a mortgage. They bought a house either recently or in the past. Who have you worked with? What did you like about them? Would you mind making an introduction? It's familiar territory. It's a warm endorsement by a mutual client. Very, very effective. Then you follow up and you say, listen, Pete and Mary Smith, said they had a great, experience working with you. I work with, them. I have for a long time as well. I'm picking 3 or 4 new realtors this year that maybe I want to work with. And I thought maybe I could get together with you. And and talk to you about sort of what we're doing this year, and, how we think we can make the whole experience much more valuable for you and your clients. So ask them to make that introduction. I'm going to send out a letter. So if you're new to the business, or if you're been in the business for a long time, but you've kind of drifted a little bit and you're not working with many realtors right now, or if you want to, work with a few more realtors, I'm going to send out a letter tomorrow. That is an introductory letter that you can just put your name on and send out. It tells realtors everything we do. It talks to them about our group of companies. It talks about, some of the pitfalls and the misunderstandings between, the banks that we see with customers, and how we can actually save the customers money. So I'll send that out by end of business day tomorrow, that all of you can use. It's interesting because a lot of people, when wanting to work with realtors, they want to walk into the front door of a real estate company and they want to, just put all their flyers in all of their realtor slots, and pretty ineffective. I mean, nobody's special. You're in essence, spamming them. So when you're going after realtors, you want to pick, between 10 and 20, not all in one office. And you want to do personalized letters to them. You want them to know that, you pick them. When working with realtors, I always say, always try to find your tribe. So if you're a a mortgage professional that's been in the business 3 or 4 years, you're going to have a really, really hard time working with, a top realtor, a celebrated realtor, a top 1%er, because, they're going to think they want to deal with a top 1%er in the Canadian mortgage space. So when I say find your tribe, when you're making a list and you want to start sending out that letter and you want to, put them on a rhythm chart and you want to build raving fans and those relationships so that you guys become intertwined and start doing business together and you become friends, pick someone who is at the same level. So if you're a mid-tier mortgage professional, pick a mid-tier broker. If you're a new realtor, or if you're a new broker, pick a new realtor. If your native language is, Farsi or Chinese, obviously people want to communicate in their own language. That's going to be your target. You can also call on real estate offices. You would be surprised how many real estate offices scramble every week just to fill in their weekly sales meeting. They're always bringing in guest speakers. So you can go in there and say, listen, I'm with, the DLC group of companies. We do $40 billion a year. We work with more realtors than ever before. I'm right here in your local market. We've had a lot of policy and guideline changes recently. The market's off to a great start. Largely, we feel that the worst is behind us. And I'd like to come in and just talk for 15 minutes on, sort of the market and what we do and opportunities and how we can provide, valuable savings to all of your realtors' clients. And it's amazing how many people, will invite you into their office because they're desperately trying to fill that, hour of that 60-second, or sorry, that hour of that sales meeting. Obviously, you can offer to host lunch and learns. The more education, as I said, to realtors, the better we are. They are dying for it. Obviously, guys, you attend events where realtors are. So that's charity events, that's golf tournaments, there's sponsorship opportunities, any way that you can position yourself so that you can actually spend some time and get to know, these like-minded people that have a shared customer that just want certainty and clarity and want to know that you'll help them get their deal done for them more than anything else. So a lot of you have asked me, well, should I be paying realtors a financial incentive? I'm not going to tell anybody how to run their business, but it's our belief that, you don't need to. And quite frankly, we don't believe you should. Most realtors, when you explain that, hey, listen, my average commission is somewhere around $2,000. Your average commission is somewhere around $10,000. The most important thing for you is to get, clear understanding of the financial position for that customer and to get that deal funded. If somebody says to you, well, I have another broker who's paying me $500 referral, I think the most powerful thing you can do is deselect. And what I mean is, is that right? Well, interesting. The rates are, still near the lowest in history. The market is rebounding. As I've heard over the last couple of years, it's more finicky to get, a mortgage package and funded than ever before. I'm with Canada's #1 mortgage company. And if you have a mortgage broker today that in order to get business needs to pay you $500, and I would just shrug and look at them, I would say I would be concerned about them getting your deal funded. Listen, what I will promise you is that as you and I work together, I will always be honest. I'll be transparent. I'll give you a very, very quick response all the time. You will always be in the know. I will make you look incredible with your customers, and I will get your deal funded. As we do more business, obviously, I always try to do little things for my valuable, introductory partners. And what that means, guys, is gifts and wine and thank you and unexpected emotional connections. Your top referral partners, your top realtors, no question, they need to feel unique and special. So you can do stuff. I know every year when we go on, some of our rewards trips and MPP trips, people bring realtors as guests, or when we have, conferences, I've seen people show up with realtors, people that they've become really good friends with. I don't believe in writing checks to realtors. I think it's a very slippery slope. I think, it's very dangerous. And I think when you explain it the way I just did, you can actually deselect. So of course, guys, the other way to work with new realtors is build the rhythm chart that I've talked about in my last 3 calls. You're going to identify 5 to 10 realtors. You're going to decide the frequency with a new realtor that you want to work with. You're going to send them a small, emotional, unexpected, gift every single month. After the 4th or 5th month, they're finally going to call you back and they're going to say, oh my goodness, you're not doing what you're doing, nobody else is doing. They feel guilty. They say, I would love to sit down and have coffee with you. You get a chance to explain exactly, what you do. It's about doing things that nobody else is doing. It's about building that unexpected emotional connection. So you guys have heard me, talk to you about the incredible power of social media, Facebook and Instagram. If you have realtors you're working with, make sure that you friend them, put them on your feed so that every time they do an update, you can see any successes or new listings, or when they're thanking a customer, you jump on very quickly, say, oh my goodness, congratulations on the new house. I've worked with Terry, the realtor, in the past. They're one of the best in the business. You're just validating them. You're posting on their social media anything, that's interesting, any article that comes out, anything that's relevant. The most influential, powerful thing you can do with social media is not, tick the like button. It's to actually make a meaningful comment and provide social endorsement to them and their customers from a third party. When you do that regularly, they will start doing it on yours. They become closer. They become more engaged with you. It's, incredibly, I'm totally supportive of small events and lunches and gifts for all of your partners. I'm not interested in buying business. So I just got a question from Phil Weir here. Gary, as a new agent, what process would you use to approach a realtor in the local area that you want to work with? So basically what I just said, make a list of 5 to 10 realtors in the area, send out the letter that you're going to get from me tomorrow afternoon as first introduction. I would invite to connect with them on all of your social media feeds. I would look for ways to post informative information because they're also learning, the lingo and the business, as well as them. And then I would, reach out to like-minded new realtors. You're both tackling this together. You're on the same page. You're learning together. You can be a very, very powerful, combination. So guys, I'm looking at the call. I'm 10 minutes over. I would like to hear your feedback on the 30 to kind of 40-minute quick hit. Please send me an email to gary@dlc.ca. Is it too short? Is it too long? The most important thing I want to leave you with, guys, is obviously anything that you can do to build raving fans, those unexpected emotional connections. The same thing, I want you to call past customers 4 or 5 a day. If you pick up the phone and, call 4 or 5 new realtors along with your rhythm chart, every single day, make your introduction, tell them about the company, tell them that you're local in that market. It really is a numbers game. You'll get people that will be just delighted to hear from you. You will get others that, will be a little bit more short and curt, and that's okay. It is never, ever personal. I want you also, guys, to use the tools, the pre-qual, My Mortgage Toolbox and the Purview. Those are 2 assets that are standout for realtors. So I'm going to sign off now. Always, guys, like always, that social endorsement is really important. Keep it coming. If there's something that was of value, please make a quick comment on Instagram or our social media about the Level Up training. If there's more that you want, guys, we are wide open. We're trying to do these series all year long. I have a list now of different subjects. I have a whole bunch of guest speakers set up. So I'm really looking forward, but I really do appreciate your valuable feedback. We want to create the groundswell, of course, out there. So if it was value to you, please make a post about it. If you have a question that I didn't cover, send me an email, gary@dlc.ca, and I'll slowly work through these and I'll respond to all messages. Thanks very much, guys. Continue the great start to 2020. We appreciate all of your support. Have a great day. I thought I had 5 pages.